I realise that a number of you have already met Sarah Green. It's on the right here. Sarah did present essentially a lot of what we are presenting again here this morning was presented to the Regional Ref Development Officers Forum on the 9th of September. We will be using the same PowerPoint that Sarah used then as the foundation for this, but we will then be breaking out into actual demonstration that Karen will lead us through in terms of actually using Appoint Me, etc., and a deeper dive. And I'm sure that will lead into some of the Q&A at the end of the session. The PowerPoint presentation, I believe, was circulated, was passed through to Lindsay for circulation back on the 9th of September. So hopefully you've had a chance to have a look at this. If not, it will also be made available to you from the MyFootball website, which we will cover briefly for you as well. Probably just to set the scene in terms of, I think everyone's obviously on the invitation, gives the agenda of the main things that we are wanting to cover this morning. This is not intended as a training session for individual referees in terms of how to use the Game Day app, etc. We will cover some of the functionality at a high level, but this is really for you as referee managers and referee appointment officers. So effectively managing those appointments, etc. Probably there's a couple of key points that I'd make right at the start, just to remind people in terms of change of process. And whenever there's a change of system, there's always going to be some learnings, some angst, etc. Our job is to try and make that as easy as possible for you, but we also understand that there will be some things that are discovered through this process and also discovered in 2026 that you'll say, hey, we would really like something to change, or we'd really like something to be extended, etc. That is a normal part of the process, and will be a feedback mechanism back in through New Zealand Football for any of those things. What we want to make sure is that you guys have the tools you need to effectively do the things you need to be doing in relation to referee management and through as we shift from Comet to Sporting. Probably worth just mentioning in terms of we're not going to talk to things in terms of behaviour done within Comet. We're going to focus on what's going to be true going forward. And with that, there's probably a couple of things that I point out that are significant system-wide differences in terms of process. One is that under the platform going forward, the intention from NZF is that referees should register or renew effectively the registration every year in the same way that coaches, players, etc. do. Right, so we have an easy process to achieve that. So it's not too onerous. They don't need to fill out a whole new registration form every year, for example. Within the system, within Sporty, we will be migrating the existing referees' registration records effectively from Comet across to Sporty. What that means is that will include effectively the name and contact details of the referees. At this point, I'm not talking about accreditation and that sort of those things, which we have a separate conversation going on at the moment around where things like accreditation might sit. Going forward. At the moment, we're just talking about the registration records will come across as part of that migration. And that means that every entity, and by entity I mean every federation and New Zealand Football, will be able to see the registration records for your referees through in Sporty. Okay, so having those registrations in Sporty is an easy starting point to be able to send people a magic link, or what we call a magic link, to email out to their last known address to give them a link back to update their details and renew their registration for 2026. Right, so this is simply to make it as easy as possible for referees to do that and to renew that registration every year. Another important thing here is that refereeing for futsal as opposed to football, there were a whole bunch of different methods being used for some federations did not use Comet for futsal. Some federations did use Comet for futsal. I'm talking about both in terms of community refereeing as well as into high performance. There's a mix of behaviour going on. The intention is going forward that futsal referees will also be registered in the same way as football referees. completely understand that often they are the same people, but that's not always. And equally, there is a simple and easy registration method for futsal referees that runs in parallel to registrations for football referees. Right, so that's just setting the scene in terms of a major difference between the way referee registrations were managed in Comet versus in Sporty. So what I might do now is, the other thing is we do have some questions for you. There's a couple of points that we are looking for clarification on from, and this forum feels the right forum, so we'll discuss with the NZF around a couple of questions that we have back for you that we will either do when we're showing particular screens within the system as to making sure that it works for each of you, or we will also cover in the Q&A at the end. Having introduced Sarah, I don't think I actually did the proper introduction, so my apologies, team. The guy that's ranting on at the moment is Mike Purchase. Beside me is, or beside Sarah, is Joe Perry. Joe manages our onboarding and support teams. Also online, we've got Karen Schonkel. Karen is a competition management specialist and also oversees the our product support around AppointMe and referee appointments. We believe we also have Ange online as well, who's another of our comp management specialists. Right, so Ange and Karen at the moment are busy working with the federations, with the competition managers at each federation and at the NZF. And what they're really doing is the early configuration or setups, tasks that are needed to load all of the things that are required for competitions. So as you can imagine, things like venues, grade settings, field sizes, all of that kind of stuff is currently being loaded into the competition management system. And Karen and Andrew providing that support for the competition managers. The stuff we're going to cover today is online with the competition management system. So it means that any updates or changes made to the competition will automatically be reflected through into the referee appointment system. Just in terms of understanding our vocabulary, the appointment referee system is called AppointMe. And the competition management system is called SKED, S-K-E-D. So I realise that these terms are new to some, it will be new to some of you, but hopefully it will all fall into place. I might pass over to Joe to, I think, start off with the PowerPoint. And I know there are a few slides there that are very introductory that we can probably go through pretty quickly and get into the meat of things.
Yeah. So I'm just going to share my screen and then open up the PowerPoint presentation so we can step through that.
Next one, right. Cool.
Through these.
So yeah, sorry, we're shooting through really quickly. Was there anything on those previous slides that we'd want to emphasize?
Just an overview, but
okay,
yeah, we can include in this.
Yep.
So just kicking off, as far as coming into the starting point of this dashboard area, so just ensuring that everyone has the correct login details that they're going to be needing to perform their functions. So with the referees, it's obviously going to be the AppointMe tile. So if that's not enabled for you when you log in, it is important that that does need to be as well. And obviously the competition managers will be coming in scared. And there may be some discussion internally at the federations as to what additional access is granted to the AppointMe officers in relation to viewing the registration details of the referees in both online registrations and Super CRM, because access would potentially need to be granted to those areas as well. So the starting point, as Mike mentioned, is that there will be a registration form for the referees. There will be a separate registration form for the football referees as well as the futsal referees. So I understand there is some discussion in relation to that, and we will be bringing in the referees registrations from 2025 when the migration of the data comes through across from Comet into Sporty. So that's not there at the moment. That's not going to be there on the 1st of December. That will be there later in the month of December, and that's still and as far as the actual dates as to when it's going to be visible.
Probably just worth mentioning, there's a as part of that data migration project, which is a separate project obviously than what we're talking about here. But there is a registration freeze that you may be aware of in relation to Comet, where effectively from that time, which I believe is the 2nd of December, and at that point, all registration records that are in Comet, that's for all registration types, referees, coaches, players, etc., will be migrated to Sporty. And once the migration process is completed, there's a data validation step. Once the data is confirmed as being all good to go, then effectively Sporty will become the single source of truth going forward, which I believe at this stage is anticipated to complete the data validation and have it go live as I think the 17th of December.
Correct.
So from that point onwards, you would be using Sporty for anything going forward. Obviously from the official New Zealand football season, obviously doesn't start until the 1st of January. So that's really in terms of the registrations of players, etc., including referees for the 2026 season will be opened on the 1st of January. Yep.
So so one of the tasks will be inviting your referees from last year back to re-register, because the process will be they'll need to be re-registering in the 2026 year. The fact that the data's being brought across does not mean that they're automatically registered in 2026. There does need to be the active process of them registering in 2026 for the 2026 season. So this is showing just where the registration records sit. There is an easy mechanism to invite referees to come back and re-register. The steps through the process of it pre-populates an invitation to them explaining what to do, that they are all sent an invitation to come and re-register. That's the starting process with the referees for what they then need to do as far as accepting their registration and setting their availability. So this is a new action. So this is something to identify at the Federation's the responsibility of who is going to be looking after this process and inviting people back to re-register. And this is an overview session. These are the kind of questions in relation to this, are the kind of things that you can ask and go through with both Karen and Ange as onboarding and support is provided directly to the referees, and probably separate sessions that you'll be having individually with your federation and then to go through those questions. This is an example of the emails that the referees will receive. So all of your referees will be receiving this when they come back to re-register. They'll receive a confirmation email, and most importantly, they'll receive this access email to appoint me. This is important, that they need to come and follow this process and click and log in and set their password so that your referees will have access to their appoint me.
Yep. So just to confirm, these emails get automatically generated whenever a referee renews their registration. So when they register for the first time in Sporty for 2026, they will automatically receive a confirmation of registration email and an access email.
So it's worth pointing out, I am aware that a couple of the federations have been using Appoint Me for their with some competitions this year. In that case, their referees will have access to Appoint Me, but they will still receive the confirmation email, and they'll be able to log in with their existing login details. Yeah,
the system will automatically recognise whether or not their email belongs to an existing login, and so they won't need to won't create a new login for them.
Then, as part of the process from your perspective, the referees will need to be approved. So this is approving the registrations, and you'll see in the online registrations area against them is a little plus that needs to be approved, so they sit in the approved status. The referees will still be able to go and log in and set their appointments availability before they're approved, but this is a process that does need to be done before you will be able to allocate them to any games.
We can see a difference between those two slides is really simply there's the approval little green plus button, and that ref up the top does not have a FIFA ID. Once they have been approved, the green plus button turns into a tick and you'll see a FIFA ID appear.
It's just showing the SCED view because the competition managers will be generating the draws in SCED. When the referees, this is showing that when they receive their access email and log in, their process is coming in and setting their availability. So we have a support article on this that shows them how to do it, and we'll also be getting some short videos up and running so that they can follow the video process as well. But it is essentially the steps that are shown in here.
Yeah, just as a high level overview again, remember that in broad terms, the process for referee appointments in Sporty is that referees are registered, that referees then have access to Appoint Me and they're able to set their own availability effectively on a calendar. And then that interacts back into the Appoint Me dashboard available to you guys to see who has set their availability so that you can appoint them to fixtures corresponding with their availability.
This is the view in Appoint Me, and we're going to go through and show you some examples of this as well, of the process showing that the draws that have been created, the referees that have registered and their roles, in some cases where we need some to add some, and the status of their acceptance. So this is a view that will become very familiar with you. There are a lot of different filterable options available here to filter on whether it's been accepted or not. And Karen's going to step through some examples of those.
Probably just point out at the very top of that screen as well, there are settings. There's a settings cog that Karen will no doubt refer to in her screen share, but there are some things that need to be set up in Appoint Me for the very first time. These are settings that don't normally change going forward, but Karen will walk you through that. Once those settings have been set up, it's only when they've been configured that content will become available through to the screen because it relies on those settings.
Those are just showing some of the settings that we'll be going through, setting the grade levels.
So just showing examples of system settings in terms of which fixtures should display and Appoint Me for you, etc. And then some of the settings which we will talk to when Karen brings this up around the level of referees required for different grades, for example.
Okay, so have that discussion then.
Yeah.
Cool. Then this is the app view for your referees, was what they will see with regards to games that they have accepted and how they display in the app for them. So we will be having a separate session for referees closer to the time that's relevant for them actually going to be starting to score the game. So we'll get some feedback from you as to when that would be appropriate to do that. Until they can actually go and see something and actually go and start potentially using the app, there's probably no point in having any training session now because it's going to be a couple of months away at the least. This is also showing in the app and how the scoring of game events and yellow cards, red cards.
Yeah, so just as a reminder, of course, is again another, I guess, difference is between what was being done within Comet and what's done in Sporty, is that Sporty provides a live scoring app across all football. So that's right down to junior and youth also is able to use a scoring app. There is also a separate method for entering scores via web as well, but the scoring app tends to be by far and away the most used method, both for setting the team sheets as each team will confirm their own team lists or catalogue, and then for the scoring of those games. So referees will have their own login with the app and able to then see any fixtures that they're assigned to. and we'll be able to score those games with the official score. And we sometimes ask this, that, is there an expectation for the ref to be running around the field scoring on an app? No, absolutely not. Refs are only expected to keep doing whatever they do today or are comfortable in doing. This just provides the method for referees still to be able to use the app to check the team sheets that have been submitted and to actually to enter scores and red card, yellow card events, etc., which can be done after the game.
Yeah, so I guess it's appreciating it's going to be a change for your referees, starting off with them having to re-register that process of that. So it will be an internal change management process of communicating to them how things are actually going to be different. Again, this is some of the requirements in relation to the disciplinary cases and the details that are activated as part of that.
Do you want to, I think we're going to ask Sarah if she could talk briefly to just the workflow around the red card, yellow card.
Yeah, so as Mike and Joe have mentioned, there are two components that a referee needs to engage with as part of the Sporty platform. So number one is Appoint Me, which is where they obviously log in, set their availability, and they are assigned against fixtures and they accept or decline those fixtures. And the second component is the MyFootball game day app, and that is where they review the information that's been entered by each team and where they go in and score and submit the scores for the game. So as Mike mentioned, quite different from the desktop view, which you currently input your scores into with Comet. So as part of the process from a football referee here, they will, so the first official will be responsible for submitting the final score through into the competition administrator. They can complete this task after the game has completed. So obviously you'll be taking notes on your notepads during the games, etc. When the game's completed, you'll go into the game day app and you will start the game and score the game as we showed in the previous scene, in the previous screen. It'll allow you to select the game events that you need to assign. When you assign a yellow or a red card event, so that is either to a player or to a team official, you'll be prompted to enter additional information against that particular attribute. So you'll be asked to submit the reason for that. So in this example, it's for violent conduct against a match official, and you'll also be asked to input a comment in relation to more details around why that yellow or red card was assigned to that specific individual. When you submit that information and submit your final fixture information into the system, that will come through into the Sporty system into an area in your online registrations called disciplinary cases. So depending on who your federation is responsible for managing disciplinary cases, you'll be assigned with access to that database. And yellow cards are automatically assigned a section, so they'll be automatically provisioned with a monetary fine or a match suspension based on the reason that you've selected. So they've been pre-populated based on the NZF requirements. Red cards, however, have guiding principles around the type of sanction that should be applied, whether it be a monetary fine or a match suspension. So obviously you guys make the decision in relation to the type of conduct and how severe the punishment should be for that conduct. So as an example, an accidental trip would be much different type of sanction imposed to someone going up to someone and punching them in the face 3 times. So they may get a higher fine or a higher number of match suspensions on the basis of the type of action that was incurred. So as part of that process, just like in Comet, for the red card disciplinary cases that are raised, they need to be actioned within Sporty in the disciplinary cases area, where you will review them, open them up, identify the disciplinary sanction that should be applied, and then approve that sanction. At the point that a case has been approved, sanctions will be raised for that case, and an email will be sent to the club and to the federation administrator advising of the information that you can see in the screenshot below, where the case was raised and what sanctions have been applied in relation to that case. And then the system will automatically identify when the number of games have been played and when that player is available for release into a game following the number of match suspensions that they've played. Teams will be unable to select that player. So you can see in that screen, we've got little tick boxes on all the players or the team officials that we're attempting to select for our game day team. In the instance that a player or a team official has a match suspension, they will be unable to be ticked, and the little red little red icon will appear at the top, as you can see on that view, that states how many matches remaining for their suspension until they're able to be selected into a game day team. So that process is automatically allocated. Yellow card, accumulated yellow cards will also result in a disciplinary case being raised when they have reached the maximum number of accumulated yellow cards. So I think off the top of my head, that's 5, 7, 9 and 10. So when they have 5 yellow cards against their person record for that season, for that duration of that season, will automatically raise a disciplinary case and sanctions for match suspensions for a single match suspension once they've reached that total number of accumulated yellow cards. So the input of this data through the game app is really important to drive all of those processes.
Thanks, Sarah.
This is just the live match centre report that it is available for each game.
Yeah, again, so the match centre view is determined by the settings in the competition management system and SCED. So in terms of what is actually shown, so in terms of able to show the lineup, timeline of game events, etc. for each fixture, if that is enabled. Just wondering whether, Sarah, I'm just wondering whether we can, you're best to talk through this one as well for the post-match fixture reporting.
Yes, so the screenshot is old. This is on the basis of the presentation completed in September. This view has changed slightly, so we'll be able, we'll demonstrate that as part of our game day training processes. But effectively, as I mentioned to you, there are 2 areas for referees to engage with on the Sporty platform: Appoint Me and the Game Day app. Within Appoint Me, this is where you're assigned and accept your fixtures and all of your fixtures display. That's also where you complete your post-match fixture reporting. So Appoint Me can be accessed on your mobile device, on your phone, so it's easily accessible, or you can access it from your desktop as well, using the same login each time. So it's completely dependent on the referee and determines in relation to how they want to submit their fixture, post-match fixture reporting. As an example, if you're a referee assessor or a referee coach and you're writing a lot of comments for the referees in relation to how they completed their actions on the day, this may be a task that you'd want to complete on your desktop. So within each fixture that you're assigned to, a hyperlink will appear next to the name of the people that you can submit reports against. So as an example, if you're a referee here, you will see a self-assessment report appear against your name and your name only. Here, if you're a referee assessor, you will see the referee assessment report appear next to each of the referees' names, so you can complete a report against each of them. You'll complete a report against each one of the referees as required. There are mandatory fields which are indicated with an apostrophe here next to the item. Each of these fields can be completed and saved, so you don't need to complete the whole report in one hit. You can come back to it at a later stage. So if you need to collect more information or you need more time to complete your report, you can save this and come back to it and appoint me later. At the stage at which you submit the report will then be submitted through to your federation so they can review your assessment. You will then be able to review that report in a PDF format if it's a referee assessment or a coaching report. a referee self-assessment or a coaching report. Referee assessments, however, do need to be validated by you guys as appointment officers to confirm the rankings and the assessments that have been completed, since that is one of your accreditation and learning evidence items. So we'll go through that process in relation to how your federations will approve referee assessor reports and make those available as a PDF to the people that the assessment have been completed against. But effectively, too long didn't read summary here is that in Appoint Me, you'll have all of your fixture reports you can complete. Once completed or a report is completed against you, you'll be able to access that as a PDF and download that for future reference.
So I'll let you see most of them, they can download it, the referees download it as well.
Thanks, Sarah. This
So
actually
that's
the
going
same.
logging in and
Yeah.
viewing that.
That's cool.
This is just to provide you an understanding of the post-match fixture reporting that's completed by a team. So again, just the difference in between the post-match fixture reporting from a team perspective and a referee perspective is that the referee completes all of their post-match fixture reporting in Appoint Me. Teams complete their post-match fixture reporting inside the Game Day app. So the options that are displayed on screen will appear available for the teams to complete following the game submission, and they will be able to complete the referee assessment in relation to how they believe the referee performed within that game. And this screen just displays a summary of the types of reports that are generated from within SCED once these referee assessments have been submitted.
Showing the views in the Super CRM of how you can create filters on various reporting, which I'm not going to run through at the moment, but it's just
Oh, that's cool.
built on that. This is just the user access control with regards to against a person's profile in Super CRM, the ability to actually see their username details if they have any queries or issues with regards to updating those. So this again is the decision with regards to the access level that's given to the appointment officers or and managing their referees. So these functions happen in Super CRM.
Yeah, so Super CRM is the again, sorry, I should have mentioned that when I was talking about vocabulary, is the database of all registrations within the Sporty system. Super CRM gives a view across anyone that is registered. So that will also give the view through historic registrations following the data migration. So you'll see anyone who's ever been a referee will become visible in here. And for each of those individuals, the starting point, you'll be able to filter as per the previous screen, filter on to find whoever you wanted to see or operate on. You can click through into an individual to see their profile and other information about them. And you can also check their user access for their username and password, etc. in here. Yeah.
This is just, we'll cover this as well as we have support material at our support site, also with Sporty AI. So once you're logged in, you can go and search on our Sporty AI. But the My Football site is what we are going to be adding some additional information, some specific useful support articles for referees in that area as well.
Including the recording of this particular presentation, we will end up putting onto the site for you. So there's a hidden page. We'll circulate the link with a password that's shared for all federations to access material that will be relevant to federation, both competition management, federation management, and referee management.
So
Stop sharing for a sec, I think.
the
I see
number of emails
there's
going through in
quite
the
a few
chat.
questions coming
Do we
through.
want to talk
chat.
about some of those now?
Yeah, I guess I've got to be a bit careful we don't end up with the chat running away on the Q&A session. So What,
hold off on
yeah,
responding to these
what we
in
might,
Q&A? Yeah.
what we might do, guys, is because it's a lot for people to keep up, trying to consume the chat as well as the content on screen. Feel free to keep adding your questions, but I'll ask Sarah to hold off replying, and we'll put that into the Q&A at the end.
I'm just going to, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to hand over to Karen to actually just run through some. I'm just going to make you a presenter, Karen, to be able to share your screen and go through just some of the settings in Appoint Me and some of the tasks that you will be doing there. So let me know, Karen, if you are now able to share your screen and
Yeah,
your audio.
Yes, I can. Yes, I can, Joe. I'm just doing that now.
Excellent.
Is that appearing for you?
That is, we can see your screen. Thank you.
Excellent. Just bring up some. Oh, sorry. So as Joe has mentioned, and Sarah and Mike, that Appoint Me is completely aligned with Sched. So any games scheduled in Sched will also appear in Appoint Me. So the tile for Appoint Me sits right next door to the Sched tile. And when you click into there, providing some settings have been added to your instance of Appoint Me, you will see the fixtures that are scheduled from Sched in the fixtures screen. I'll show you what those settings, we've already, Joe's already shown you a few of them in the PowerPoint, but I'll just show you what they look like in Appoint Me itself. So you've got a settings area here, and this is where you get to choose which fixtures you'd like to see in your Appoint Me, whether they're just the ones that belong to you as an RSO, or if you want to see any fixtures that are assigned to your venues as well, if another federation is using your venues.
So we would recommend that both of those settings are invoked.
Yeah. It means that you can appoint your own referees to your grounds if another federation is hosting games on your fields. This is the sort order of what you will see your available refs when you're appointing them to games, and there's a selection of alphabetically based on their level or the number of upcoming appointments that they already have, and you can have that set from lowest to highest or highest to lowest. So that means that you can see who hasn't been appointed to many games coming up, as opposed to someone that you might have appointed heavily to games. Or if you want to see levels, you can make a choice here of what will help you configure your instance of Appoint Me to make sure it aligns with what you're wanting to see anyway.
Yeah, so just to jump in there really quickly, sorry, Karen, that particular component probably won't become clear to you until we discuss more around what levels mean within Appoint Me, and why they're important, and what we mean when we display display the order that available officials will appear. So this is in relation to when you're assigning officials to a specific fixture. We take into account a number of attributes, and we'll show you what this looks like a little bit later. So this may not make a lot of sense just now within the view, but to provide you an Karen's just letting you know that there is an option for you to set that.
Yeah, true. Thanks, Sarah. Yeah, so this will make a lot more sense in a few minutes when I show you from the other side, from the actual referees settings and how they are appointed to a game. So it'll all start making sense in a couple of minutes, hopefully. So this is an area where you can set the number to have visibility of the number of upcoming or historical fixtures that a referee has been assigned. So in other words, you can see a history or what's coming up for them, just to get a clear view of how you'd like to choose who is appointed to which games when it comes to making your appointments. There's also an opportunity to set the number of minutes you'd like a referee to rest before assigning them to another game. So you can set that at any number of minutes. And there's also an opportunity to set the number of games that should lapse before you assign a ref to the same team. Now, none of these things will stop you assigning a referee to any particular game. It will just produce you with a warning that some of these criteria haven't been met, and there could be, you know, something you need to review. They haven't rested, they ref the same team last week, and it's not, yeah, so this area is for settings to assist you with appointing the right official for the right game. The next tab here in the settings area is about your grade levels, and that's been slightly shown to you in the PowerPoint also. What this does is each grade you'll be using in your competitions needs to have the roles that you'd like to assign to those grades, games within those grades. So you can add as many roles as you want out of the selection of roles, and you need to decide what level referee you'd like to fill that role within that fixture, within that grade.
So probably just a point of clarity here is that we are currently in a dialogue around, and that's one of the questions we're going to be asking at the end of this forum for feedback from you all as well, is that for the purpose of Appoint Me, and I think there may have been some confusion, I think, around, obviously you already have your own levels that you use for your own internal purposes and for accreditation. This does not need to actually marry those levels. This is what we'll be talking about is the fact that by having individual grades set for a certain level of referee or referee assessor or whatever to be involved with that grade, what we're also able to do is set those levels against corresponding referees, so that in your Appoint Me view, it makes it easy for you to see just those referees that have that, in your view, are at the correct level for that particular fixture in that grade. Okay, so this is it's a convenience measure to make it easier to ensure that you are appointing the correct refs to the correct level of fixtures. You do have the ability to go off and search for an individual ref as well, so you can actually go and grab someone and assign someone that, if you want to override effectively these settings. But it's important, one of the things we'll be talking about in the Q&A session is just making sure that whatever scale is used here for the levels is sensible, and will have, I think we'll end up having a bearing back on your accreditation, but it does not need to look exactly like your accreditation.
And then just to follow up from that one, if Karen expanded one of the levels there, we'd note that the levels that are currently in place, this is our testing environment, they are not the levels that we currently have in place in your production. So in our production version, we have from levels 1 through to level 6, as level 6 in FIFA being the top level, but we do have an extra level here in UAT here. But effectively what you're doing here is you're setting the lowest level, Appoint Me level, that should be applicable to this particular fixture. So, and as Mike mentioned, this may not necessarily be their accreditation level for their specific roles, but it is a level.
Yeah, so it's simply a method for you to be able to decide which refs should be able to manage which fixtures for whatever grade. Just on the right hand side there, really quickly as well, while we're looking at it, is the ability to set minimums and maximums. Most commonly it would be set to 1 per role, but you can there is the ability to set more than 1 individual role as well, and also the ability to set a match fee in terms of for payments against each individual role. That's then able to be with the intention that that's available as a official's payment report output.
So setting of these settings that Karen is speaking to now, the system settings, the grade levels, and we'll also be looking at official grade levels. That they are things that you will need to set up in Sporty at Go Live once you've received access to Appoint Me. Here, this will be something that you will need to configure. This is because Comet does not have grades, the concept of grades, so we'll need to apply these levels to these grades manually here.
Yeah,
It's be a one-off configuration that you won't need to repeat in future years. They'll just be retained in future years, but you can modify them as needed.
Cool. And just a reminder, obviously, I think you're probably aware at the moment, the federations have been completing a task of collating their grade lists in terms of going forward, since grades, as Sarah mentioned, everything within Comet was done under effectively a competition name rather than having grades as a system setting. So going forward, this just makes it easier to structure things, and as Sarah mentioned, only need to do this once. Thanks, Karen. I'll pass back over to you to continue, please.
Cool. Thank you, Mike and Sarah. So I think we can move from this screen now, and I'll just take you to the next screen over, which is the official screen. This is a list of anyone that has registered as a referee in the current season. This is where you will decide the level of each of your officials by setting it in this column here, and then it will marry up with what we've just discussed in the levels of each role required for each particular grade. And as Mike mentioned, it doesn't mean you can't assign someone that's not of the desired level. It just means that it's going to give you the most efficient way to appoint officials that are of the level that you'd like them to be. So I'm just going to go back to the fixture stream, but we're actually just going to go into Appoint Me as a referee, and I just want to show you that side of things for the referee themselves and how they set their availability and what they will be experiencing when you appoint them to a game. I'll just go to a different screen for that though.
So these credentials will be the ones that were emailed to the referee at the stage of the registration. And once again, they'll use the same credentials to log in to Appoint Me, either on desktop or mobile. They use those same credentials to log into the Game Day app. So one login will rule them all. That login will be shared if they're both football and futsal referee here. That will be retained across both.
And those existing referees that have used Appoint Me this year will be able to use their same credentials as last year.
Thanks. So this is the view for a referee, and they can also have the same view from their mobile device. So they've got, there's a menu bar here, but there's also these three main tasks that they'll be performing, which is setting their availability, reviewing any appointments made to them, and viewing the appointments that they've accepted or that they've been scheduled to officiate. So when they are appointed to a game, they will get an email that asks them to either accept or decline. Now, it can be done directly from the email that they receive, or they can actually also accept their appointments from within their Appoint Me. So, I mean, if they get this email and they want to quickly accept it, they can do it from the email. The alternative is to review any appointments made to them in their own Appoint Me, and that's where they can make a decision whether or not they would like to accept that appointment. So when they open review appointments, they will see the details of the appointment. They'll also be able to look at the standings table of that particular grade within a competition, and then they can make a choice of accepting or declining. If another referee had already accepted an appointment for the same fixture, they would see the details of who else is involved, what other officials are involved in this particular game, and that may have some bearing on whether they accept or decline the appointment. So they have a choice to accept or decline. In this case, we will accept this appointment, and they don't have any other appointments to review. Bear in mind that they could have a big list of appointments coming up that they've been appointed to that they have to review, but in this case, there was just the one. That particular appointment now will appear in their view appointments area. And you can see which ones they've accepted. So if we click on one of those, you'll also see, sorry, one moment. We'll go to that again. This one here is the one I've just accepted, and you'll see that my referee self-assessment report is here, like we mentioned earlier, for completion after the game has been completed. And that's the form that they can complete and save at any point and circle back to it to finish it. Once they've submitted that form, it will then become a PDF, such as this one, which has here. This means that they've submitted that form. Now, in this particular game, there was also a referee assessor involved, and that person has also completed their assessment of you as the referee, and that now is a PDF for you to review as well. While the assessor's completing that, it won't be viewable in this area until they submit it as an assessed referee assessor, and it's been approved by the federation. That's correct, Sarah? The referee assessment forms are activated at the federation level?
Correct. Yeah, correct. So the person that's responsible for reviewing those referee assessment reports will require access to the referee assessment database to complete that task.
Yeah, and I'll show you that in just when we go back into your dashboard, I'll show you where that can be done. So the main thing that your referees will do as soon as they gain access to their appointment is they'll set their availability, and that is done in this tab here, and it can be done a whole week at a time by clicking on the day of the week that you're wanting to make yourself available. It can be done for the next 7 days by choosing a week. So this can be for a day of the week for the next month, or however many months you want to make yourself available. Or you can use individual days just by selecting that date. Or you can choose every day in the week to make yourself available to referee.
So we'll have a little video prepared for referees to be able to go and watch and follow these steps.
Yeah. So when they do choose a date or a date range, they then choose whether they're available in the morning, the afternoon, or the evening, which is considered from 6 p.m. onwards. They can write a general note that appears against them in every game, or they can set a note just for this date if there's something in particular. I do need to go somewhere between 2 and 3 o'clock. Please, no games at that time, that type of thing. And those notes will appear against them in Appoint Me to help you with your decision on when you're appointing them to games. So you can see that that's now green, which means that they're available on that day, or they've set availability for that date.
So examples of things like general notes that might be set by referees are things that will guide you in your allocation of that referee to fixtures. So as an example, if you're covering the Football South region and someone is based in Queenstown, they might put in their general notes, only provide me Queenstown games because they don't want to be travelling over the mountains, as an example. So any information that they would think is important for you to know when they're allocating you to games is something that you would advise referees to put into their general notes column.
Thanks, Sarah. Okay, so we're going to go back into your dashboard again now. I'll just leave that open. And I was going to show you where you can approve, where you'll need access to approve the referee assessors reports. So in the online registration area, you'll have you'll be able to see the reports that have been submitted, so that you'll be able to see the referee self-assessments in here. You'll be able to see the referee coach reports, and you'll be able to see the is that the one?
Self-assessments. Yeah, it will be. Yeah.
Yep. Got
this is also the area you'll note that you can see the registrations if you click into the football referee registrations database as well. Just to show them what Joe showed them previously. This is important. This is the area in which they can go through and to approve the referees that have registered for the season. They can also do this in Super CRM, so they can use bulk approval actions in Super CRM, or you can approve one by just simply clicking that plus icon. It's really easy and quick. You can show by just clicking one, Karen. So you could do that with all three in a row and it will go off in its merry way and complete that in the background. So really quick process to confirm that those people are active referees. They're not someone who's a community referee that is registered to your federation by mistake, that these are actual accredited referees that will be utilised in your high-level performance competitions.
Yeah, and the magnifying glass here, you could review what they submitted on their form, and with that, if you're wanting to check something before you approve them.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah, so I just really wanted to just touch on that, the referee registration, because the important things that you guys are, the most important things to be aware of are kind of the timeline of referees registering. Karen, if you could just hover over the invitation to re-register icon, the little mail icon on that referee. That is also the area Joe was referencing in relation to inviting previously registered and people that we've migrated through from Comet. To really quick method that you can invite everyone to re-register by utilising that icon. It will only send an invitation to people who have not yet registered for the new season. So you can hit that icon 17 times in a season if you want to, until you know that everyone that should have registered as a ref has now done so. It will only go to those who haven't yet registered. Next to that little mail icon is a little link icon. And if you click to expand that, Karen, that just provides a link to a form that you can put on your website, you can put in your social media, any new referees that have indicated that they want to be registered as an official referee for your federation, can complete a blank form if this is their first time that they wish to register.
So this functionality, as well as both inviting back to re-register and displaying a form on your site, is just our out-of-the-box functionality that all of your clubs will be doing this when they are inviting their players back to re-register, and displaying any form on their site as well. So it's just consistent functionality.
Cool. Thanks, Karen.
Back into appointment, yeah. I think we come back to this, Karen, and this is a scan.
Yeah, let's head for appointment.
Okay, so at this point we have gone through the way that the referees themselves assess when they're available and let you know that. There's a couple of reports you can run there, and I thought I'd just quickly show you them before we do appoint someone to a game. So in the officials tab, reports, this just helps you when you're making multiple appointments. You can actually see a spreadsheet view of who has submitted availability for a certain date. So I'll just filter this to one date. Typically you would filter it to the date that you're appointing to, but if you're wanting to extend that date range, you can. And I'll just run that quickly for you. It'll appear as a download. Oh, sorry.
No, I was going to say, as Karen was mentioning, that, you know, helpful for you to have a CSV or a list view next to you while you're appointing. Well, this is also helpful for you to follow up with your referees to say, hey guys, I've just run a report for the month of August and it shows that no one has set their availability for the month. Can you guys please go in and set your availability to make it easier for me to appoint you to games? So in this, I'll let you talk to this one, Karen.
Oh yeah, so this is the information that will appear on your report. It's going to list the available referees or officials at the top of the list, but you'll see that these particular ones that are registered have not set any availability for this particular date. If it was run over multiple dates, it would show a person's name and then the multiple dates, and then it would show whether they've of the dates that they've nominated availability. It's going to show what time frame they've said they're available. For instance, Sarah has said she's only available up until the evening. She's not available from 6 p.m. onwards, whereas both Sam and Sally have said they're available for the entire day. It's going to show you the notes that they've put about themselves, the general notes, as well as the date notes in here. So in this column here, it's got the contact not the latest known contact number that they've registered with. So it means that you can actually use this information quite quickly, ring them and say, hey, Rhiannon, you haven't said you're available on the 29th of November. I would really like to appoint you to this particular game. You can still appoint them in the appointment screen, but I mean, in the perfect world, Rhiannon should have said, yes, I am available, and you wouldn't have had to go through that exercise of having to call her to check. So that's what this report looks like. Obviously, it will have a lot more officials on it and a lot more information on it as you're running it through the season. But so this is just a very basic version of it here. But this is the information. It also shows the level of your referee. So you might say, well, I really need to find another FIFA ref for this weekend, and Elliot's the only one that hasn't said his availability. Let me give him a quick call and see if he's available. Yeah, that type of thing. So it's all to assist you with your appointments. The other report you can run in here is your match official fee report, and that's based on the historical games that have been assigned to your officials and what fee you assign to those roles that they played in those games. So once again, it's run on a date range. If I was to just set that from the 22nd to the 29th, and actually, I'm just going to set it for one date so you don't have to wait for my email. The size of the report determines whether it has to be emailed to you or if it will just appear as a download. So to speed this up, I'll just do a report of one day. And then we can show it to you straight away rather than waiting. So once again, the information on here could be a date range if I had filtered to more than one date. It's going to give you the name of the official and the match fee that's been assigned to the roles that they've played in games. So you can use your filter option and filter Sally and find out what match fee is applicable to Sally, and same with Sam, etc., or all your referees. And then I'm not sure how it works for federations. Do you invoice a club after that, or Is that how it works, Sarah, or you arrange payment for the referees?
Yeah, we're not involved in the payment processing, Karen. So all we do is make sure that the federations understand the have ability to set fees and are able to generate a report. We don't become involved at this point, but it's something we can certainly take feedback on from referees going forward.
Okay, no, cool. So those are your reports from your officials tab. Now I'm just going to go back to your fixtures tab. And so you're going to be looking for some refs to ref on this particular date here. You'll notice that I've already assigned some referees to these games. So there's two steps to assigning an official. First of all, you look for an available official. You then choose one, and then you have to notify them for them to be able to review that appointment in their Appoint Me. So what we'll do right now is I'll appoint some officials to this game. When I click add, it's going to be searching for anyone that said they're available on the date of this particular fixture. And it's going to also bring up a list of what you're trying to appoint to this fixture and what levels you would prefer people to be. So you've said you want a referee, you want an assistant referee, you want a referee assessor, and a referee mentor for this particular grade. So automatically it's showing you a list of everyone that has said they are available on this particular day at this particular time. We spoke about seeing the number of upcoming or historical fixtures for each referee. This little drop-down arrow shows you that. So if they've been appointed to other games, you're going to see anything, a total of 5 games in the past or upcoming. Because that was what we set in our settings area 5. But if you want to see more or you want to see less, you can. So this brings up the notes, the general notes and the date notes. So Sam would like to be finished by 3 p.m. this day, that type of thing. So you can then assign positions, official positions for particular people based on who you think is the best option for that. So in this case, I'm going to assign Sally as the referee, and I'm going to assign Sam as the assistant referee, and I'm going to assign Sarah as the referee assessor. So once I save that and go back to the fixtures screen, you'll see that they now appear as a pending. They still do not know that they've been appointed to these games because they haven't been notified. And the reason why we don't notify people automatically is because sometimes when you're appointing multiple officials, you'd like to make sure your whole day is complete before you start telling people you're officiating this particular game, because you might change your mind, and instead of putting a person on this game, you might move them to another game that they're more suitable for. So you do have the option of accepting the appointments on their behalf just by changing their status to accepted, but they still don't know because you haven't notified them. So sometimes you might want to notify in bulk and simply tick all the boxes and hit your notification bell, which is this right at the top here. Or you might just want to notify a particular game. Once again, you still have to hit the notification bell. This is going to warn you if there is more than one appointment made for those particular officials, and do you want to include them in your email as a notification. You can say yes or no. It's going to bring up a standard. Oh, sorry.
Karen,
you go.
No.
So what this will do is then produce a standard email which you can edit, you can add to, you can remove, or just it's an editable email. And you might want to change the subject line. If this is the second time you've notified them and they still haven't accepted their appointment, you can say, hey, this is your reminder. I've already sent you this email, or whatever information you think's practical to put in there. Once you send that email.
So just before you click send there, you'll note that on that screen it said displaying 1 of 3, and that's because Karen has selected that yes, she wanted to send other fixture information. So what happens is that when you send that email, it will send all of the fixtures that that referee has been assigned to in one single email. So they'll get one email with a list of all 12 fixtures they've been assigned to that week, and they can accept them all from within that one email, so they're not getting bombarded with multiple emails.
Oh, thank you. You notice that it didn't, that it's now got a notification stamp in here to say that these umpires, these referees have been notified. So if we were to go to the appoint me for one of these, not only would they've got an email saying you've been appointed to this particular game, you can accept or decline within the email. Or you could also go to their appointment and you'll see these particular games in appoint me in their review area. So I'm still logged in as a referee here, and I'm going to go to my review appointments. You can see that that particular game that I've just appointed is now showing for review here. So I can choose to accept or decline. If I chose to decline, I'll just show you what that would look like. There's a box here you can tick if you're a referee declining an appointment that say you're not available for the rest of the day. If you don't tick that box, you can still be assigned to other fixtures, because you might have another reason for declining it. The traveling aspect is too far for me to get to that day. I'm going to decline it. If you don't tick this box, it means that the referee appointments officer will see your reason for declining and will be able to then decide whether there's a more practical or suitable game for you to referee where the travelling factor doesn't impact you as much. So if I was to, I'll just refresh that screen, and there's that fixture I just declined. Now, if I hover over that declined, it says the reason was travelling. So it just gives you a clear picture, and it means you can then appoint another assistant referee and give Sam another game somewhere else, because he didn't say he wasn't available for the rest of the day.
So Sam will stay displayed there as a declined ref, and it's up to you how you want to manage that. So you can see that now above his name, there's now a slot to add a different additional assistant referee with the add button. And you can leave Sam listed there as declined if that's something that you track and report on for metrics. Like you want to understand that Sam has declined 57 appointments this year. I probably need to have a chat to him about setting his availability, because it's getting out of hand, the amount of appointments he says he's available for and then declines. Or you could choose to completely remove Sam from that view, so you no longer have reference of that declined appointment as well.
Yeah, because you can actually use your filters to filter a particular referee and really sort of gauge how often this person has been declining. Oops.
Yeah, so she's typed Sam's name in here, and so this is showing all the fixtures that Sam is involved in, and then you can export or extract that as needed. So any of the filter options that you have across the top will guide what is displayed on the screen, and then you can export whatever is displayed on screen. So one of the helpful filters that Karen just mentioned there is the acceptance filter. So really helpful to filter on declined appointments, so you know which ones that you need to now action or do something with, as an example. You could filter by appointments that have not yet been notified, so you know all of the fixtures that you need to now send referees notifications about, as an example. So all of those filters are designed to help you allocate or notify refs.
Yeah, and there's an option to decide how many fixtures you'd like to appear on your screen, how many items per page. You can change that from as low as 5 up to 100. You've also got your export button down here, and as Sarah said, that export will deliver a CSV account of everything you've filtered on your screen.
Should we go to add that assistant referee back to that game, Karen, and show them what it looks like to search for another referee that is either from an outside federation, a referee that's not of the required level for that fixture, or a referee that is unavailable?
Yeah,
I think
sure.
Lindsay, yeah, if you search for
What's that?
Lindsay's name, I think
Yeah, okay.
Lindsay will be one.
Yep. Thank you. So I'm going to go back in. Sam's declined his assistant referee duties, so it's going to look for anyone else that's available for that time. There isn't anyone else at this point, so I'm going to search for Lindsay. What was it, Lindsay referee?
Oh, sorry, Lindsay.
Eh?
So her name's spelled wrong, but that's okay.
Oh. So that's this is another referee that hasn't said they're available. So you'll notice that this little warning comes up to say that this ref hasn't said they're available, but I've actually given Lindsay a call and they do want to be the assistant referee for this game, so I'm going to appoint them. Now, these other warnings down here are based on those settings. Remember, we set the amount of rest time between refereeing or officiating a game. So if that hadn't been met, it would have come up with a little red warning. Or if you assigned a ref that had ref that same team last week, but you had said you want them to have a 2-game rest between reffing the same team, it would come up with a yellow here next to the appointment. Not going to prevent you appointing them, it's just a warning. So once you save Lindsay as the assistant referee, you'll see that Sam's now gone as declining it, but Lindsay hasn't been notified, so she's still going to need to have a notification to see that fixture in her own appoint me. So you just notify her with the notification bell, or him. I didn't send that because I'm not sure where that email's going to, sorry. Anything else that you can think of at the moment, Sarah?
Adding manual fixtures. I'm not sure if this is something that that football do, but it's something that some of our other codes do. Is that quite often the referees will be required to do things like pre-season games that are not kind of vetted or done through the federation, or it might be a friendly between two clubs. There is an option for you to add a fixture manually and then assign officials to that manually created fixture and appoint me as well. So we won't go into detail about doing that, I don't think, but that just to let you know that function is available.
There is information about that in the support articles as well. Anything else? Oh, you'll notice that these grades here, juniors, this grade called juniors, does not have the ability to assign any roles, any officials to. That's because that grade does not have anything in the settings. So that's like what Sarah was saying before, that it's important that this is all configured when you want to get started. So if I was to go into the grade levels again, that juniors grade doesn't have any roles, but just say we wanted to select a role and give them a level and save. You'll see that it's confirmed that those settings have now been saved. If I was to go back to the fixtures screen, you'll see that the junior grade now has the opportunity to assign a referee to games within that grade. I can't really think of anything
Great.
else right now, Sarah, but if you can.
Yeah.
No, that's great. Thank you, Karen. That's fantastic.
We'll
Appreciate
definitely be
that.
providing a more, very more another training session to you as individual federations as you need in the future.
Thanks, Karen. I might just let you set Joe back to presenter.
Okay.
And we will pick up from there.
Yep.
I think we're probably at the point that we would just let anyone unmute. We've got a bunch of questions that have been added through the chat, so we'll make sure we cover those. And then we have the questions that we want to pose to you guys, as well as taking any other Q&A. If we need to screen share again, we can certainly do that. So Karen, you can probably stop.
Well, the answer these two questions in particular in relation to, okay, so just open it up, we'll go through.
I think we'd have a conversation with the other things. So if we let people, we can let people.
Allow mics. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm able to allow mics for anyone who wants to ask any questions as well, as well as typing through the chat.
Your cameras should be available to you as well, so that we can see your smiling faces. So what we might do is we can start talking through some of the questions, but otherwise I'd encourage you to also please question by voice will probably also help as well. You're welcome to unmute yourself or put your hand up and we will endeavour to answer them. In terms of the questions that are there, Sarah, with this earlier?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So received a question in relation to registered ones and cover both football and futsal. Currently they do need to register separately. That is an item that we are reviewing to identify if it can be a single registration. Many issues with emails, so the confirmation email or the user access email going to people's junk or spam folders. No, we don't typically. We have had in the past Yahoo is particularly tough on marking emails as spam. We've worked with Yahoo specifically, but we're sending out hundreds of user access email every day for lots of different purposes. Our support team can assist if someone has advised that they haven't received the email. We can identify that email and resubmit it if needed, or provide you with access to where you can view the user credentials that have been set. You can actually help referees self-manage their username and passwords through Super CRM. I'll let some questions come through and then we'll come back to the chat questions. I see Annie's got a hand up.
Sorry, I thought I was second in the queue, so I was waiting patiently.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right.
Sorry, apologies, Rodrigo. If we'll come to you next, if that's okay.
Sorry, Roddy. I did have three, so do you mind if I bang them all out, if that's okay?
Yeah.
The first one was just around suspensions and whether they cross over grades. So for instance, if you get, if you're suspended through sort of Div 1, but you play in a cup game, will that come through when being selected for cup games or vice versa?
Yeah, correct. So currently how it's implemented is that the suspensions need to be served at the grade or in the competition in which they were received in. And so as an example, if you receive 3 match suspensions in a cup game, your team would need to complete 3 cup games without you until you'll be available to compete in any fixtures. There is an override functionality at a federation level for you to mark suspensions as being served so that you can potentially allow that player to play if there is a special circumstance that they would be allowed to. Currently how it's implemented is that the team in which they receive those suspensions, that team has to have played that number of games before you're eligible again.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. A quick one on the accept or decline email to refs. If they decline directly from the email, I'm assuming it takes them to the same screen so they can put a note or a reason as to why. It won't just decline with nothing direct from the email. Yep.
Yeah, that's right. And from the email, I think there was another question in the chat. There are separate accept and decline options in for each fixture. So they will need to accept and decline individual fixtures. It's not a bulk accept all 15 appointments on that one email.
So they get sent a bulk email potentially with each 15 of them in them, but need to then individually accept or decline those 15 ones.
Perfect. And then the last one was just the match officials fees report. Does that include only statuses that are played? If referees have forgot to mark them as played and we're now trying to process that, will they come through or they will be missed?
It will be all fixtures. So in Sporty, I think that's a real key, a key change between Sporty and Comet is that we don't have the fixture status being marked manually as played in Sporty. So that feature doesn't exist in Sporty. So it will include all fixtures in that date range. Yeah.
That's me done. Thank you.
Thanks, Annie. Rod.
Rodrigo.
Hi, good morning, guys. Just on the referees that will register both as futsal and football referees, if they accept a football match, will they become unavailable at that same time for futsal, for example?
You're correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, so their availability will show based on their availability, and you'll be able to see the other games you've assigned them to. And it will indicate if there's not enough time between your football game and your futsal game, as an example, if there's going to be any kind of crossover, it'll have that little warning sign.
Okay, thank you.
Shall we continue through the chat
Yeah, we'll
questions?
keep going through the chats.
Yeah.
Do refs need to set availability to be allocated to matches, or can they skip that step? So to make your life easy, absolutely tell them to set their availability. Otherwise, you're going to be going through the process of having to search for people all the time, which just adds to the amount of time it takes for you to complete your role. So absolutely, we would recommend that they do set availability, and it's something that you monitor and go out to them and advise them, hey, I've noted you haven't set your availability this month.
So that summary grid view is purely of those that set themselves as available for that period.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Register for football and futsal can use the same password for both. Understood. FSL begins 17th of January. What league is that? Sorry, Lindsay. Yeah.
Futsal Super League will start, and
Okay.
I'm aware term one's quite heavy for futsal in the federation space as well, so there will be quite a lot of activity in federations as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think we've already got some
Found it on.
federation activity in Appoint Me already,
Oh.
but yeah.
And also in relation to getting some of the futsal comps, sort of getting those starting to be set up.
Is something that Karen and Ange will be working on with the competition
be
managers
underway.
as well.
Of course, the from a club perspective, they're not going to be able to. There's not going to be, in school perspective, as far as any teams being entered from there, it's not going to happen until after December.
Yeah, so just a reminder that that in terms of the timeline, so 1st November was when the platform was made available, and then the first task was federation setup and NZF setup. So that's all really around configuration of the system. 1st of December is when the system was made available for or promoted to clubs as being available. What that really means is that the registration forms, which are the most important part of this, become visible to the clubs automatically. The official player and coach registration forms become visible to clubs. Registrations still aren't open at that point in time. Registrations don't open until the 1st of January, which is the NZF season. So you can't actually register someone for 2026 while we're still in 2025. But clubs can do that pre-season stuff that they might want to do. So for example, they might set up their own additional questions on the official registration form. If they want their own club questions, they can set up their own opening and closing date for registrations themselves within the New Zealand football season. Some clubs say, well, we don't actually accept registrations till the end of January, for example, or they might say we actually close our registrations officially at the end of March and we want people to apply to contact us directly. We're not just going to take them assume that they're going to automatically be registered. So it's around accommodating the way clubs normally manage their player registrations and movements. So that part all starts from the 1st of December. This evening, we are providing a training session for clubs. That's on at 6:30 this evening for about 2 hours, is it, Tony?
Yeah.
At the moment, I think we have over 300 clubs.
About 325 so far.
Clubs have registered to attend that. So that feels like about 3/4 of all clubs. Which is a fantastic turnout. Through that process, we're really going to be talking to them about registering their players and how to enter teams into competitions, right? So that those become visible back into feds. If we have anyone on the call that is a primary federation contact, we're hoping that you guys are able to attend the club training session this evening. Other questions in the chats?
Can we amend the sanction amounts for our own federation?
No, so that's currently out of scope. So we were provided, I can't remember exactly the term for it, but there was something provided by New Zealand Football in relation to the minimum requirements for items, and those items were set as not being modifiable for the yellow card items. However, we can obviously look at that if that needs review in future. Sure.
Remember, it's only a report though as well, Karen. So you could, if you know, you can go through and manually alter things within that report and the output I'm talking about.
Karen, did you have a question?
Oh, sorry. So
Rogers?
sorry, just to be clear. So we can't manually change those. And I'm assuming somebody somewhere knows what they've currently been set at. But when you say it comes out on a report, but maybe I misheard you, but I also thought what I heard was that those ones are automatically accepted and appear on, like, to send an email for clubs.
Correct. Yeah.
So they'll get an email saying that player A got a $25 fine, whereas as a club, we know that player A actually got a $75 fine because he swore, because he said something on the pitch he's not allowed to say. So I suppose, yes, it's a report and I can change that. We can change that before we send the invoice, but it creates an issue that we don't necessarily want to have. So, just interested about that.
Yeah. Great to hear that feedback. Thanks, Karen. I think Rod and DG, we should take that feedback and pick up on it.
Yeah, just to second Karen's comments, we only charge the higher fees at our Tier 1 competitions, and then the lower fees are at Tier 2 because we run temporary dismissals based off New Zealand Football. Well, that's the guidance, and obviously until it's all aligned, but we didn't want to charge the higher fees at our lower end because those are the clubs that would be disproportionately affected. So anyway, the point is we have two different tiers of yellow card fines as well as a federation.
Okay, thanks, Georgina. Well, again, Rod and DVG, this is something we need to pick up on for yellow card fines.
Yeah, I suppose even if we knew what it was that they were actually set at, because I mean the example that you had was for dissent. I don't know whether that was just a manual example that you put in there and didn't make that connection, but yeah, that's certainly something that would concern me if we were stepping back on that in our federation, because it has been effective.
Yeah, noted. I think we're saying essentially the same thing. I think, Karen, it sounds like there's clearly some additional conversation that needs to happen between NZF and the federations to clarify the desired behaviour here. Thank you.
Just the next question on the chat. Oh, sorry. What was that? Sorry, Lindsay.
Hand up from Lindsay.
So yeah, I had it for the registration area side of things. The configuration of the referee registration, is that set, or can federations amend that as well. I'm thinking things where they want to add in bank account details and other aspects they may want to collate from their referees.
Yeah, good
Yeah,
questions.
absolutely.
Yeah, federations are able to edit the form and add their own questions. So if a federation has specific questions or wants to capture bank account details, etc., yes, they are able to do that.
So there'll be certain fields that they won't be able to change, but they can add their own fields onto the bottom and introductory text and things like that. And that's kind of our standard form functionality that your clubs will be doing as well as part of their process.
Yeah, great, because it was great going through the club process. I guess the referee process, as we know, will be needed for the 1st of Jan. That's kind of what we're planning, and that's in our preparation.
Yes, thank you. Next question in the chat.
Do we need to approve yellow cards, accumulated suspensions?
No, yellow card accumulated suspensions are automatically approved, they're automatically deployed.
Thumbs up from Georgina. That's good.
Can the assessor see the match day report pre and post match data?
I think we might need more detail on that
Alice,
one.
can you unmute yourself and just give us a little bit more information there?
Yeah,
That's on
so
the-
basically if the referee can see the team sheets before the game, and then if the referee can see what the assessor can see what the referee's put in after the game. So any sanctions, the goals, like missed penalties, etc.
So the referees can see the team sheets before the game, yes. So that's part of the game day process, is that they will see those team sheets as soon as the team sheets have been submitted. There is a change in process insofar as that the referees are unable to modify the team sheets. Only the clubs themselves can access and modify team sheets, or skilled competition administrators can modify team sheets. Referees can simply view those team sheets. And then the final submission of scores, including game events and cards that are submitted, are available in the public match centre view. The information in relation to the disciplinary cases in terms of the reason and the comments, they are only available through the disciplinary cases view. So provided that the referee assessor is given access to that view, they'll have access to view further information.
Roll down.
Can referees reject an appointment after accepting, i.e. injury?
So if a referee changes their mind or whatever.
They'll need to contact the federation so that you can make that change directly and appoint me. Once you've accepted or declined the appointment initially through your referee appointment, you cannot modify it.
We've covered the next one, which is multiple appointments. They can be sent out, but they need to be accepted or declined individually. And then the last one on the chat is, will referees automatically get notified if there are scheduled changes once they have accepted an appointment?
The answer is yes, they do. So
That's with New Zealand Football to confirm a change of behaviour. Yeah.
in relation to whether or not it's automatically accepted, you mean, as opposed to being notified?
Whether or not we remove them or make them accept again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's the notification is yes. The secondary part of this will be, are they automatically deemed to have accepted the new time for a change? That's something that's currently still is an open discussion item in with New Zealand Football.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we quite often have obviously changes on like a Friday, for example, with the weather. So then they'll automatically get the change, but we're just working through whether they re-accept or decline.
Yeah. What would your preference be?
I guess it depends how big of a change, which I don't think we can put parameters on, but some of them are only 15 minutes, and that's not a huge impact. But when we're changing venues across the region, then that's a significant impact. So probably re-accept would be my guess,
Yeah.
but interested in what other people think as well.
Yeah, re-accept feels safest.
Yeah, it's more just around making sure they're aware of the change because we don't want them turning up to the old venue, for example.
Right. Okay. In terms of hands up, I see we've got
Karen just put her hand up.
Karen
before.
and then Mark. So
Yeah.
Karen, we let you go first.
Sorry, too many questions. I apologise for that. Just another one of those ones where you said that we didn't need to approve the accumulated suspensions, which is good to hear. But we also had a discussion previously, and potentially I'm the one that misunderstood, about whether or not about things carrying over for competitions. So currently we have a process where we can actually, you get a fine in a sanction, stand down sanction in a fine, sorry, in a cup competition, and we can, you know, that there's possibly months between cup competitions, so you don't want that team to have, that player to have to wait months to be able to serve that, or if it's a 5-week or whatever, if it's a 5th sanction, so we can apply that to what they're currently currently doing, what their normal competition is, I suppose is what I'm trying to say, and we can do that manually.
So
I would
there is a
say
manual
we can still
feature
do that
in
manually.
Sporty for you to state that a suspension has been served on a specific date,
Okay.
and you can add a comment to it. So you can state, served on the 22nd of the 9th, served in a Chatham Cup game instead.
Yeah, but would that player, I suppose what I'm asking is, when we do it currently in Comet, what happens is we assign it to their normal, so say they got a fine in a Chatham Cup, a card in a Chatham Cup game, we go, okay, that card is also going to apply next week. He's playing Waikato A, so he gets another card in Waikato A, another 3, he's already on 4, he needs to stand down in Waikato A, so his team can see that he's not available. I suppose that's my question, is I can manually change it, or we can manually change it, don't have too much of an issue with that, but will he be able to be he or she be able to be selected if
you've marked it as served, if you've marked the suspension as being served, then they become available for selection. And so provided all of the suspensions that say they were allocated 3 suspensions, if you wanted to clear all 3 of them and say we're just going to ignore them and let them play these in December, if you mark them as served, that he becomes available for selection. I might have misunderstood that.
Karen, sounds like you're more asking around, does a yellow card, does it accumulate across competitions?
Yeah, can we accumulate it across competitions, I suppose is what I'm saying, so that we could make sure that he or she is only getting 5 cards, before he stood down, and hasn't had 7 cards, for example, because 2 of them happened in a cup game
In a different comp.
and didn't get the stand down. Yeah.
Yeah, Sarah.
Sorry,
Yeah,
probably
it's
my
across all
explanation
comps.
rather than yours.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's across all comps.
Yeah, so yellow cards accumulate across competitions, so that he's not going to miss out on his count by the fact that he got 2 under one comp and 3 under another comp, still going to total 5.
Perfect. Thank you.
Mark,
There is a report that you can run in Super CRM that details the total number of accumulated cards for a specific individual. So you can understand who's getting close.
Mark Hester.
Thank you. A few questions, just tracking back to the changes to fixtures, and if people need to re-accept, what happens if they don't? So especially if that change comes through late in the piece. So that would be the question. There might be a lot of changes, and if they have to re-accept and they get to the ground and they haven't re-accepted, the question would be what is the issue with that, or what could be the issue with that? Just a few things in terms of setting the levels. It sounds like, from what I understand, it doesn't need to be set according to accreditations. It can be, but it doesn't need to be. So, for example, on some competitions, we have panels for certain competitions, and so a level could be equivalent to a panel. Some of our panels are cross-federation, and this happens everywhere in the country where we have regional leagues, and we have panels from 2 or 3 different federations within the same panel about whether they cross-federation. So for a competition, match officials from 2 federations can be on the same panel or on the same level. And the other question on levels was when setting the levels, assigning a level to a referee to certain referees, is it possible to do bulk actions? So rather than having to go through each person individually and assign each person individually, can we effectively do a bulk action for this group of people are all level 1? This group of people are all level 2. So I've got a couple of other questions, but maybe just addressing those first.
Well, I mean, the last question is no, there's not currently a bulk attribute for setting levels. However, it is something that you'll set to once, and they are then retained from season to season. So if you need to update them, you can. But it's not something that you have to do every year.
It's also, I'm not sure how practical it would be, because within that appoint me view, if you remember that screen, Mark, that shows all of the referee names, they're not, there's nothing there to sort of filter them on. If you're the benefit of going down, hitting individual checkboxes, for example, and then doing some bulk change, is that act is not going to be too dissimilar to literally against each one, having made that decision one by one as to whether you're clicking the checkbox, as to whether you set the level. And as Sarah says, because it's something that only generally happens once or very rarely, hopefully it's not too onerous after it's set up. You're just on your earlier question. I think that the first one was just around your comment around the desired behaviour if a fixture has changed, and that it could be a late change in terms of whether the referee is deemed to have it, that had previously accepted it, whether they have automatically accepted the change or not. Obviously, that was that was the thing that Georgina was discussing a moment ago as well. That has not yet. We don't have clear direction on that yet. So again, we're happy to take input, and I think it'll be great to receive input here. On how you'd like this to behave. I think generally it feels safer that they're not deemed to have accepted a change. But again, if the consensus is that you say, no, we want it, that if the fixture's changed, if you accepted it, the first one, they're automatically deemed to accept the new one, we can implement it in that way as well. So
Cool.
I'll leave that as an open item for an open decision, probably.
Yeah, it's probably something we need to come back to you with rather than discussing it here. So
Okay.
that's cool. Just have a
sorry,
couple
your other question, Mark. I think we knocked 2 of them. There was one other.
Yeah. So just a couple around the appointments. So I noticed when when sending notifications, we can do that in bulk, which is great. So we might, for example, do 200 notifications at once, but I noticed that after that, we then have to send each email individually. So even though we can do the notification once, do we need to send, for example, 200 individual emails for those? Because it came up with an email which we could edit and then send. So if we do that, do we need to do that 200 times for a weekend's worth of? No, you can still. So that is absolutely a bulk feature, as to sending notifications out by using the
effectively under that little bell icon, it lets you select who it's being notified to, and it will increment the timestamp of the most recent notification time once you send out a fresh notification.
Yeah, the example was showing that you could edit the form if you
Okay.
want,
Yeah,
if you wanted to,
Yeah, you
but
don't have to.
typically, yeah, you wouldn't.
Yeah.
Cool. And the final one was if there is a decline in an appointment, which obviously appears on the dashboard as being declined, but whoever's the appointer, do they receive a notification, or is it just they will need to access the dashboard to see a decline?
Yes, they do receive an email notification that the fixture has been declined. The appointments officer also currently receives the notifications. So when a fixture is changed, currently the process is that the referee will need to re-accept, and at the moment, both the referee and the appointment officer will receive that notification.
Cool. Thank you. That's great. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. Matt is next with hand up.
Yeah. Matt Wallace.
Hi team, can you hear me?
Yes.
Can hear you just fine, but not see you.
Cool, thank you. My question, I know, as Mark said, I think we have to have a chat around the notifications. But the main question I have is around when we're doing bulk appointments, and currently at the moment, you see who's available when you go into each individual game. I just wondered if there's any way that we could either get a drop down box or something. Like at the moment, we have to go into each individual game, and like Mark said, we could be doing 200 games at a time. Is there any way where we can just put the officials in by a drop down box and then hit the notification rather than having to go into each individual game?
That's something we could certainly investigate further. It's not current functionality within AppointMe. There is functionality within the competition management platform, but I don't expect that. I'm unsure how many appointment officers will be provided access to the competition management functionality. There is a drop-down option to add referees from within SCET, but then the notification component would need to still go through AppointMe. It might be something we might need to review.
It's a good point, and anything like this, and obviously only once you guys get into using the system in earnest, I'm sure there'll be other suggestions and ideas that come up. Remember, from our point of view, we are the software developer for the software, so always open to that feedback, and there's a process to with a request or a feedback request form that's going to be available back in through NZF. So Rod will end up ultimately receiving those and prioritising any of those requests that anyone might have for changes or improvements or extensions to the solution. So and quite happy for this one to be recorded back in as a request, and then it'll be triaged accordingly.
Thank you. And just so just on the when there's late changes, I just think it can be quite detrimental, I guess, if the ref does have to re-accept, just because I personally would prefer, like, it doesn't happen often, a late change. It might be one game here or there, and obviously our competitions managers let us know. So I think then as a referee manager, I would speak to those officials involved and let them know. So I personally would rather it just stayed as it was rather than them having to re-accept. And I know that's different to what Georgie may have said and possibly Mark, but I think we're all going to have different ways of doing it. So I know that doesn't help, but I just wanted to put my thoughts forward.
Yeah, thank you very much, Matt. I think, again, just because that is still it's an open item, so we're looking for clarification from that. So clearly there's a a bigger discussion here. And if the discussion is, that it needs to actually become a setting or something within the system that gives you the option, then that requires product development. We could, we're also happy to consider that as well. Timing is obviously going to be important here too. So we have to look at, in terms of product development cycle, if there is going to be a platform change as opposed to a configuration, where software development is required, we will absolutely scope, size that, etc., and then look at timing for when that might be made available. So it might be that the decision that you guys come up with is that you are unable to agree between you as to a standard of behaviour, and you say instead you want some ability to set that, for example, either per grade or based on time or proximity of the fixture or something. Don't know. I don't want to invent the solution for you. I'll let you guys, if you could please have that conversation and provide that feedback as soon as possible, because we're really looking for clarity in relation to that behaviour.
I just see there are just two other questions. Sorry to finish at the end.
Right.
I'm just conscious of time a little bit as well, and obviously there's a lot of discussion that needs to be had too. But just there are two questions in the chat. Does the yellow card accumulate across both football and futsal, or are they separate? And same for the red card suspension. Are these able to be set just football or futsal or both?
So yellow card, we're not accumulating yellow cards for futsal. That was a decision made that typically accumulated yellow cards are only applicable for futsal within individual tournaments and things like that. So we're utilising the statistics counts for futsal. So accumulated yellow cards is only applicable to football currently.
So that's the first question. Same for red card. The same answer, isn't it, Sarah, for red card suspension?
It won't be.
Yeah, I don't know off the top of my head. I'll have to come back to you on the answer to that question, whether or not the player is suspended from just football or futsal. I think it is just this single discipline, that they are not suspended from futsal if they are suspended from football, but I believe that they are completely separate.
The other question at the bottom is this level set to the person or to the role they play.
That maybe
leads into the discussion.
Yes, I guess leads into that feedback. I think I can't remember if it was Mark or who described quite well in relation to the fact that these levels are just for the purpose of appoint me, right? So the levels, essentially it's for convenience for the configuration and appoint me that you would set a level that a grade, any fixtures within a grade, what level that grade is at, or those fixtures are at, and then against each individual person. So it's against the person as to the level they are at. So there is only one person in the referees list. So there's not a different level from our point of view in relation to referee, assistant referee, etc. Right. So just two minutes. Sorry, team, I see that we have reached time, but so it is, the level is set per the person, and it's for the convenience for appoint me. So not to be confused with the accreditation system that currently sits in Comet. And there's a separate, as I mentioned earlier, separate discussion around what happens with that data. While I talk about this, just a reminder, Comet is not going away at this point. Comet is still available to New Zealand football under the Oceania arrangement. So there is some time, I know there's some decisions still to be made around what's going to happen with potential migration of accreditation data for referees. And as far as we have been informed at this point is that no decision has yet been made. Guys, we have reached time. I'd like to keep on time if possible. Please could we, if there's additional questions, please do reach out. We will follow up this meeting with an email to the group. It will include a link to the myfootball.co.nz website and to the page that is a hidden page that's for Federation and NZF personnel that gives you the password to access that. A recording of this will be made available there, so if you're aware of anyone who is unable to attend the session, from here, the brutal reality is with this stuff, we can provide as much sort of these training sessions as till we bore you to death. Really, will come down to you guys getting into the systems, getting your hands dirty with it, and asking questions, and coming back in through Karen or Ange, or through our support, and all of those contact details will also be shared with everyone. The PowerPoint will be shared as well, just a reminder for anyone that might not have seen it. As I say, I think very open to future modifications or extensions, etc. However, at the moment, it feels like we are in a reasonable place for starting, but just want to get you guys in and get you set up and give you access. Probably just finish by saying, thanks Karen for the share, and to Joe and Sarah for the run through, and thanks to everyone. I know 2 hours out of your morning is a fair chunk of change, so I appreciate your time at the moment. We will be following up as soon as we can. All right, thanks everyone. Cheers.
Thank you.